Hey hi folks, it's Lev. Welcome back to another video. For those of you who are new, I use he him pronouns. And if this video is a bit softer and I'm talking a bit more quietly than usual, it's because I'm in a hotel and I really don't want to disturb other people, so I'm keeping my voice down. Yep, so I'm gonna probably in post, I'm gonna volume up this video so that the audio is louder because yeah, I'm in a hotel. So yes, I'm on a mini vacation in Sydney. I'm in Sydney, so if you've never seen me before, my hometown is Melbourne in Victoria, and me and my family are currently on vacation in Sydney, and yes, we're in this hotel. Anyway, today's video is I wanted to talk a bit about this new chapter in my life and how I'm going to move forward with things in 2022. The first thing I want to talk about is connections, human connections, friendships, and relationships. So, I don't really like talking about this anymore, but very, very brief context for those of you who have never seen me before. Oh, this is your first video. I was on by my ex, cheated on by my ex earlier this year. It seriously screwed me up. I didn't know how to be alone. The aftermath was horrible. I spent months healing from it, and it took a very long time for my nervous system to detach from her and basically for me to kill this emotional connection. And then yeah, I didn't date, and I was reluctant to build connections with new people after that because I was still healing. There was hurt, there was trauma, all of that stuff. And so it was only the end of last month that I went back onto online dating apps, approaching it very differently, not dating people off the bat, and going on there with the intention of building friendships with select people first, and then after that, seeing where it goes from there. Not just matching with someone, being like, okay, let's go on a date. 3 days later, okay, you're my partner. I am not doing that. And friendships for me are the foundations of relationships. Without a friendship, no healthy relationship could exist for me. And this is the beginning of a new chapter of something better because I've not only healed from that cheating incident and everything that happened after that, and the entire aftermath, and learning how to be alone and all of that stuff, all of the uncomfortable, painful things that I didn't want to confront, that I didn't want to face, but I had to either way because running from it is not going to do anything, and the longer I run from it, the worse it's going to get because the stress is just going to incrementally build up, and it may not be noticeable at first, but the longer I leave it, the worse my mental is going to get, the worse the problem is going to be, the longer I drag it out. And my arm sort of hurts because I carried 10 kilograms worth of bottled water back to my hotel room from Woolworths. So yeah. And yes, the beginning of a new chapter is when I started finding the middle ground, balance between the balance between the two extremes of going in too fast, too deep, and completely withdrawing and shutting down and having my walls up forever and being reluctant to ever try again and attempt to build a connection with someone. So I had went into that phase during my healing journey. I'm shut all doors, not building any new connections, just gotta work on myself. And then now I've lowered my walls a little, but I'm not going in way too fast, way too deep, trusting people too early on. And the new chapter is working within that middle ground, being open, being honest, being vulnerable, being transparent, and starting to trust people, but not putting 100% of my trust in people right off the bat. And just having, I guess, the things that are important to me being met, and not lowering my own standards and what I expect in human connections to be at the other person's level. It's like my level is up here and I'd like to meet someone who meets me at my level, and for them to meet someone who meets them at their level. Both people working, matching in terms of level and not having to change standards or expectations to fulfill the other person's wishes. And if you haven't watched the other video about happy accidents on dating apps, I'm gonna link that below, because that's like covers the main story of how I met this awesome soul. And I'm just growing closer with him every single day as we continue talking, as we continue getting to know each other, as we spend more time with each other online. At the moment, we haven't met in person yet. I'm not gonna talk about that in depth because that's personal between us. But yeah, doing things together online, like planning Netflix parties and playing games and just having calls where we just be raw and honest and vulnerable and human with each other. All of this is just a blessing. Like meeting him, getting to know him, building this connection with him reciprocating the effort, the care, the love, the attention, everything. Just he just reminds me of me a lot. The way he treats me reminds me of me and how I treat other people a lot as well. I actually told him, like, I think it was last week, recently, that I love him as a person and that I'm starting to grow feelings for him, like romantically, because of how awesome he is. And I actually, in our call the other day, I said that meeting him and getting to know him is basically this invaluable gift from the universe. Like after being through so much shit earlier this year, and the universe just gives me this, like, somehow I accidentally sent him the emoji, and then we started talking, and then now we're just growing every day. It's just like the sequence of events that has happened so far is one that I could not have imagined. Like I didn't think this would be happening for me, and I didn't think this would be my life at the moment, like meeting him and having him in my life. And in a broad sense, outside of this soul that I've met, just growing a lot closer to my chosen family, hanging out with my friends more often, doing things that we've not done before in the past. Like with one of my close friends, I'm planning like a 3-4 day road trip with her sometime in the near future. Like I've always wanted to road trip with a friend or friends, but I never had the opportunity to, and I didn't have the resources to at that time either, because I wasn't working, so I didn't really have money to go on road trips and pay for accommodation and all that. And now it's actually happening, and just going on more mini vacations and holidays with my family as well, doing things that we haven't been able to do since COVID started and the pandemic hit us. Just exploring a lot of novelty as well after being locked down for so long. So the next chapter in terms of human connection involves me continuing to build this friendship with this awesome soul I met and accidentally started a conversation with, which ended up being one of the best gifts ever. Like I could not regret. I could not. I don't regret accidentally sending it. Like I didn't realize I did it until later. It was an accident for real, but it was like truly a blessing in disguise. In addition to that, just continuing to strengthen and reinforce the existing close friendships I have with people, just continuing to grow that as well. Just because I'm close with my friends, it doesn't mean that growth ceases, if that makes sense. And there's always things that can be done to continue strengthening and reinforcing and maintaining the close bond I have with people. It's not like, okay, we're close now, no more work needs to be done, we'll leave it here. For me, it doesn't work like that. It needs to be constant effort from both parties in the connection in order to sustain a close bond. Like even though it's been built, if neither person or one person doesn't continue putting in effort, then it's gonna just slowly erode away into nothing. And in a new chapter, like the approach to life, I guess, on events, circumstances in general, is well, I sort of know this. I knew this last year. I knew this a few years ago as well, but applying this knowledge was a lot harder. I knew it, but applying it, like training myself to make this my default mode of thinking, was quite challenging. But now I think I've solidified that quite a bit, to a good degree, that it's happening habitually most of the time, automatically most of the time. And that is, while I can't change everything, I can't control everything that happens or change everything that happened, I can always choose how I respond to it. I can always choose how I view the situation. I can choose how to interpret and see that situation. And I choose the story I tell myself in regards to this situation or incident or event that has happened. Like, for example, if someone decides to road rage at me, instead of just speak to me like politely and gently, then I think this is a reflection of you. It's not a reflection of me as a person. It's a reflection of you and the relationship you have with yourself, and how I guess your level of emotional maturity. I don't see it as, oh my god, I'm such a bad person. There's something wrong with me. That's why this person's yelling at me. That's why this person's swearing at me. I'm such a bad person. I'm a failure. I'm a mistake. And then sort of turning that projection of their behavior inward to myself and blaming myself for it, instead of internalizing that and seeing it as a fault in myself. I see it as a reflection of the person and the work they still need to do, rather than something wrong with me. Another example that relates to the cheating incident that happened is early on. Actually, when it happened, I started blaming myself for her behavior. Like, I blamed myself. I'm like, I'm not good enough. I'm not giving her what she wants. I can't meet her expectations. I'm a failure. But mostly, I'm not good enough. That's why she did that. I blame myself for what happened. And then it was like, it took me like months in, like a few months in, to start telling myself that it's not actually my fault, and that her behavior is a reflection of herself, not of me. But it's definitely easier said than done. Like, even though I tell myself that, my automatic thought pattern was, there's something wrong with me, I'm not good enough. And that's why she did that, because that was my normal, that was my default. And breaking that chain and building a new default took a lot of effort and time. But nonetheless, I got there in the end. As I continue to get better at this skill and like not taking things personally and directing the person's projected behavior as a fault of my own, I've just like started giving a fuck less. Like, when I like stop taking things personally and see it as like, you need to look in the mirror because it's a reflection of you and not me, then like it doesn't affect me emotionally and psychologically that much. And there's like this very, I don't know I don't have the word to describe it. It's like this disconnect that really helps me in a good way. Like, not disconnecting from the fact that what the person's doing is not my fault, or it's not definitive of like who I am as a person and my value and my worth. Another mindset I've been working on solidifying in my head is that, which I've been slowly building up, is that everything that happens, there is a lesson, regardless of how seemingly big or small the incident, the situation, the circumstances. There's always a lesson to be learned, or a lesson to be retaught, or a lesson to be reinforced. as in strengthened. Like this also links into seeing the difficult things that happen to me, the painful things, the unpleasant things, seeing this as, well, while it is unpleasant and acknowledging that it is hard and unpleasant and painful, I'm becoming a better version of me because of it. And once this entire ordeal or whatever, I guess, concludes in a way, or like becomes less impactful emotionally, I will realize that it shit hurt at the time, but X months, years down the line, it's just a small part of my life, a small puzzle piece that was necessary in order to foster my growth to the person, to become the person I am today. This is also where self-awareness comes in, being aware of how I respond to things, both habitually or automatically or emotionally, like the fast reaction, and then how I respond to it logically when there is no emotional overwhelm involved in distorting or impacting my perception or interpretation or the story I tell myself about certain things. And in addition to just being mindful and being aware of certain things, it's important to put in the work in order to actually progress in growth. Like simply knowing about something is not enough. Like if I know something and I don't put work into bettering it or like improving it in some way, then nothing's gonna change. If I just know about something but don't action it. So it's important to be mindful and aware of things, but it's also important to take steps to action things if growth and change is to happen. In summary, the old Lev has burned into ashes and a new version of Lev ready to tackle 2022, whatever it may bring, good, bad, indifferent, whatever might bring a new version, the 2022 version of Lev is ready to tackle the year and is much smarter, wiser, knowledgeable than he ever was before. Thanks for watching, folks, and I will see you in the next video.